In the 1950s, they said blacks weren't smart enough to be quarterbacks. In the 60s, they said they didn't have the mental toughness for tennis. Then Arthur Ashe won Wimbledon. Doug Williams won the Super Bowl. Serena and Venus blew the doors off of the tennis establishment. None of that had anything to do with slave-era breeding. Okay, so now we're at the heart of the question. The idea that American slave owners systematically bred their slaves like livestock to create stronger or faster human beings, intentionally or accidentally. It's not just a Jimmy the Greek theory, but one that's common among athletes as well, including Olympian Michael Johnson, who said that, quote, "All my life, I believed that I became an athlete through my own determination. But it's impossible to think that being descended from slaves hasn't left an imprint through generations. Difficult as it was to hear, slavery has benefited descendants like me. I believe there is a superior athletic gene in us."
Wait, have you ever noticed that the so-called white man likes to take credit for everything? The Bible says Jesus is black. He says no, he's white. God says he created Israelites to be a special people. The Edomite says no, I bred him. Here's what God says about the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So slave breeding was certainly encouraged and even forced. But was it systematic and scientific? Historians have searched for hard evidence of organized slave breeding programs with selective mating or genetic planning, and they found very little. They certainly did uncover individual cases of brutal forced pairings, though. William Wells Brown, a former slave, he vividly recalled a Kentucky plantation that had a breeding man named Big Bill who was set around to impregnate women. Another former slave, Henry Blake, described how plantation owners studied enslaved black men like horses, confining them with healthy women to produce strong offspring. These narratives weren't isolated, but they weren't exactly eugenics either. There was no multi-generation breeding plan. Their goal was simple. More babies meant more money. Historians have spent decades combing through plantation records, census data, personal letters, sales logs, you name it, looking for evidence of a more widespread or an intentional breeding program. What they found? Essentially nothing. So to be clear, forced reproduction absolutely happened. Slaveholders raped women. Some selected strong men to father children, but that's not the same thing as eugenics. There was no science, even accidentally. There was no consistency, no coordination.
I just don't like the talk around USA versus European style of how you approach the game. All I hear is AAU is destroying the game. The Euros do it right while the Americans do it wrong. It's a lot of bull with that. I can read between the lines on that. It's a shot at black Americans. We're controlling the sport. They're tired of us controlling the sport. France is coming for you? Really? We smacked them boys. End quote.
And here's another key point. Real selective breeding, the kind that produces stronger babies, requires control and, more importantly, scale. American slave owners mostly didn't have that. As historian David Breon Davis put it, whatever selective breeding occurred under slavery was sporadic and unsystematic. It left no discernible genetic legacy distinct from the slave's African ancestry. That last part is key. The traits that do help in athletics, like fast-twitch muscle fiber or leg-to-torso ratio, those already existed in African populations long before slavery. West Africa, where most American slaves came from, they've long been home to sprinters, jumpers, and power athletes. The raw material was already there. And today, modern genetic testing shows that African Americans, on average, are about 80% West or Central African and about 20% European in ancestry. There's no slave gene, no unique super strain or evidence of new breeds of humans forged in the American South. It's the same genetic diversity that exists in Africans worldwide.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth.
I love y'all, because y'all are so eloquent, and articulate and all of that stuff, and I got it. This is where Stephen A. Smith comes in. And I'll say it for you, because I know how y'all feel. I'm going to say it. KD is 1,000% right. 1,000%. We ain't going to sugarcoat it. It ain't for y'all to do. I understand. You sit in this seat, you got to take some heat. White America, throw the heat in my direction, leave Vinny and Eminem alone. KD is right. 1,000%, okay? He is authentic. He is honest. He's a good dude. And I'm somebody he's taking shots at. And I'm telling you, It has never fazed me because I know he's a good brother. He's a good man, okay? And he just might be in his emotions from time to time, but he's a good brother. And there's no question him. When he says this, understand why he says this. It originates for why we wanted to globalize the brand to begin with. No doubt you the NBA, who has obviously supported these players and always has, from Commissioner David Stern to Russ Granick, the former deputy commissioner, to Adam Silver, to Mark Tatum. These brothers and these men have supported these brothers. But America hasn't always done so. America, when you talk about globalizing the sport, certainly money has everything to do with it, okay? Well, a lot to do with it. But the other part in globalizing your brand is whitening the sport too. Because when you've got the Luka Doncic of the world, the Dirk Nowitzkis before him, the Manu Ginobilis and others, because you didn't have enough white American players to excel on a level that could make the sport more profitable and what have you, and you had to rely on the brothers. It's why Magic Johnson was so important, because of that magnetic smile that invited you into the living room. But even still, you still paired him with Larry Bird to promote the sport. Michael Jordan came along and took it to another level. Kobe, in his undeniable brilliance and speaking 4 languages fluently and working on a 5th at the time of his passing, Mandarin for Christ. I mean, but it's a rarity. And so to globalize the sport, to have guys who were white European superstars is something that the NBA itself might have capitalized off of, lovingly so, because of profitability issues. But America and the world as a whole ingratiated itself with the with the NBA product, because you saw folks who were white, even though they weren't from America. If there were a bunch of Cooper flags running around, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they're rare, they're rarities. Cooper Flag may be the best white dude since Larry Bird. I think he is. The brother's spectacular, okay? Dirk Nowitzki's from Germany, okay? I'm talking about white American born. That's a rarity in terms of superstar status in the United States of America when it comes to the sport of basketball. KD, and everybody knows it. And that's why they said what he said, but most people wouldn't say it. KD should be applauded for his bravery and his honesty with this particular subject, and letting you know he ain't playing that. Not to mention the fact, reminding you that he, along with others, bust Europe's ass whenever you put them up against them, because they're letting you know, yo, this is who we are. Now, understand what that means. That's what makes the All-Star game, the USA versus the world, that much more appealing. Because you know that brothers are going to step on the court with that attitude, and they're going to show effort during that level of competition, because they ain't giving it to Europe, no matter how bad Europe wants it, okay? But when Binyama and others, even though obviously he's not white, the point is they're letting you know Europe is coming, and they're willing to embarrass America if America doesn't step up. But KD, in pointing this stuff out, and pointing around the verbiage and highlighting how people gravitate to that, he's absolutely 1,000% right. Because if America has its druthers, it would rather not rely on the brothers. We see it with the marketing of the NFL. Who gets marketed? We see it with the marketing of Major League Baseball. Even though you do it with NBA players who are brothers, it's because you have no choice. Because they are clear-cut the greatest on the planet, and there is no wiggling around them.
2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 23. And what one nation in the earth is like thy people, even like Israel, whom God went to redeem for a people to himself.
So why does the myth persist? Part of it is convenience. It offers up a tidy, biologically deterministic explanation for why black athletes shine so much. It flattens a complex mix of culture, economics, and opportunity into one sexy phrase. They were bred for it. It can also reduce achievement to ancestry. I mean, that Johnson quote was kind of sad. It can tell a black athlete that his success isn't really his, and that some of it belongs to a boss man from years ago. And it also misses how much black excellence in sports is social, not biological. In the 1950s, they said blacks weren't smart enough to be quarterbacks. In the 60s, they said they didn't have the mental toughness for tennis. Then Arthur Ashe won Wimbledon, Doug Williams won the Super Bowl, Serena and Venus blew the doors off of the tennis establishment. None of that had anything to do with slave-era breeding. There might be some genetics involved, but it mainly had to do with talent, discipline, grit, and finally more access. Ultimately, the reality is this. Slaveholders exploited enslaved people's reductive capacity for profit. That generated more slaves, but not a genetically engineered group of people.
A.O.I. to the 12 tribes. Israel in the building, don't fold now. You ask you something. Do you want that power over these nations? Yeah! Do you want to rule? Let's go! Overcome, hold strong, stay true. Israel never folds, it's what the chosen do. Through the fight, through the pain, we remain.